Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking on a sweeping, a really personal story that spans more than a decade. And it forces us, and you, to confront this age-old philosophical puzzle.
Mm.
When our lives diverge from the path we expected, is that just the cruel hand of destiny, or is it really the culmination of 1,000 small, sometimes painful decisions?
It's the ultimate narrative challenge, right?
Yeah.
And the source material we're navigating today, this story of Lucy and Gabriel, it gives us this extraordinary psychological depth
Yeah.
to really analyze that very question.
Yeah.
We're tracking a connection that's so powerful, it feels completely preordained, but at the same time, it's so fragile that it just crumbles under the weight of ambition and, the real world.
It's a study in two completely different kinds of love, isn't it? The intoxicating wildfire versus the solid, dependable hearthfire.
Exactly. And that's our mission.
Our mission in this deep dive is to extract the essential insights by analyzing the complex timeline of Lucy's relationships. First with Gabe, the artist, the photojournalist.
The wildfire,
Right. And then later with Darren, the planner, the provider.
the hearth fire.
We really want to get to the bottom of the motivations that drove these characters to choose, stability over passion or vice versa. And what was the philosophical price they ultimately paid for those choices?
And this whole journey, it really starts with a foundational concept, one that's anchored in literature. It just sets the stage for absolutely everything that follows.
That's right. Their initial connection, it begins in the Shakespeare seminar with one single powerful line from Julius Caesar,
There is a tide in the affairs of men.
which, taken at the flood, leads on to fortune. That quote immediately asks us to consider whether Lucy and Gabe actually seized their moment or if the sheer immensity of their connection was just too much to handle from the very beginning.
It's such a brilliant dramatic technique, isn't it? Because they're introduced to this idea of seizing your own destiny,
Yeah.
only to have the entire world just throw itself into complete chaos hours later. It proves that external forces, call it destiny, call it history, can and will interrupt any well-laid plan.
Let's unpack that. The fated genesis. We're in Kramer's Shakespeare seminar at Columbia. It's 2001.
And the source material really emphasizes the gravitas of the setting. It describes this old wooden table, the wood worn smooth by, centuries of history. It suggests the ideas being debated there are somehow timeless.
It's the perfect crucible for their meeting then. And into this setting of historical seriousness and academic thought, in walks Gabe.
Late.
Late, wearing a casual Diamondbacks cap. He's got this quick smile, a dimple. He's immediately presented as this slightly disruptive, incredibly charismatic force that's about to upend Lucy's very structured world.
And he sits right next to it. It's almost as if he's drawn there by some kind of magnetism,
But the personal intensity of that meeting, it's just instantly overshadowed by history. What's so crucial to remember about September 11th in this context is the lack of immediate, overwhelming information overload.
Right. We have to put ourselves back in that time.
Yeah, you really do. The hosts remind us there were no push notifications, no Twitter feed constantly updating. The news interrupts the Shakespeare class, but it's initially vague enough to be, shrugged off by some of the students. It hasn't become real yet.
That delay in realization is just pivotal because it allows their personal connection to be the immediate defining memory of that day, coming just before the national tragedy fully lands.
So amid all that initial classroom chaos, Lucy and Gabe shake hands for the very first time, and Lucy notes his striking blue eyes, and she has this one single thought that just brands the moment for her forever.
He's beautiful.
Exactly. He's beautiful. Their personal world starts so intensely right as the external world is beginning to fracture and fall apart.
And here's where that shared memory becomes so fundamental to their entire story. The national tragedy becomes irrevocably, permanently linked to their romance.
The moment the devastation truly hits Lucy isn't through a TV report. It's when she's climbing out onto the roof of Ween Hall with Gabe, looking south over Manhattan.
And seeing the smoke.
Seeing the smoke and the ash billowing, it was there, just witnessing that negative space where the towers had been, that she says the world cracked in pieces for her.
That shared moment on the roof, overlooking the damage, it sets this precedent. It's like a prophecy for them. All their significant future connections will happen against a backdrop of some kind of destruction, whether it's global or personal.
And it also commits Lucy, right from the start, to searching for a life with greater meaning. It changes everything for her.
He does. And moving beyond the tragedy itself, the source material gives us some really essential early insight into Gabe's character, particularly his artistic vision.
Which is described as Beautiful, bizarre, and always bathed in light.
He's depicted as a pure artist.
Hmm.
We see this in his photography projects. He's capturing a close-up of a bird's nest that's woven with, like, discarded paper and homework. He's making the ordinary look profoundly strange and purposeful.
And Lucy really admires this. She sees him as daring, brave, and just utterly committed to capturing art, not just recording reality.
And his early philosophy confirms this artistic integrity. He has this really strong aversion to, quote, creating what sells.
He brings up his mother, doesn't he?
He does. He cites his mother, who painted these, touristy Arizona sunsets just to earn money. And this is what makes his own subsequent career choice so perplexing later on.
It certainly is. And right alongside that artistic integrity, we get the first real hint of his emotional fragility, the first major fault line that Lucy recognizes but kind of ignores.
When she asks us about his father,
Yeah. She asks about his father, and Gabe's face just closed, like a door shutting behind your guys. It's this hard, immediate denial.
and Lucy registers it, she sees the complexity, the hidden pain, but she doesn't push. She lets him keep that part of his history completely shielded.
I have to wonder, though, how much that moment really foreshadowed his future inability to commit. I mean, if he couldn't open that door to his past for her, then how could he ever really commit to a shared future?
That's an excellent point. It really suggests that even in the most intense, passionate phases of their relationship, there was always this fundamental part of Gabe that remained walled off,
Yeah.
inaccessible, even to her.
His art was his real confidant.
I think so, yes.
Meanwhile, you have Lucy's ambition, which is still sort of finding its footing. We get that really lovely, charming anecdote about her secret writing.
The teacup pig named Hamilton.
Right. Stories for her roommates about a teacup pig named Hamilton who accidentally got accepted into a college meant for rabbits.
It's such a wonderful contrast to Gabe's dramatic, serious art, isn't it? Lucy's creative outlet is all about warmth and humor and connection.
But after 9/11, that initial idea she had, maybe going into advertising, it starts sounding silly to her. She realizes her work needs to align with the gravity of the world she now inhabits.
Which brings us to their post-graduation paths. This is the first major divergence point where decision, definitively overrides destiny, or at least it seems to.
Lucy makes what she considers the meaningful choice. Program development at a TV production company, specifically working on kids' shows. She's aiming to reach the next generation.
She aligns her ambition with her desire to make a difference. It's a very clear line.
And then there's Gabe, the pure artist who hates commercialism, the visionary who seeks truth.
He goes into consulting.
At McKinsey.
It's the ultimate pragmatic, high-paying corporate track. This is where I have to push back a little on the narrative, though.
Go on.
If their connection was so profound, if they were so philosophically aligned on rejecting the mundane, why didn't Lucy challenge that choice more forcefully at the time? Isn't that the first subtle sign of denial in their relationship? Her just letting him walk down a path that was the total antithesis of everything they shared.
That is a crucial insight, I think. I think maybe Lucy rationalized it. She saw it as a temporary financial thing, but what it truly signifies is Gabe's nascent belief that to achieve his real dream, he needed power and money.
Resources he associated with the corporate world he claimed to despise. Exactly. It shows that ambition was already starting to mutate his artistic integrity. And Lucy, maybe she saw the money and the path to stability and, hoped he'd find that stability with her.
And the final, just brutal punctuation mark of this first divergence is when she sees Gabe with Stephanie.
Long, wheat-colored hair, hand already resting on his thigh.
And the dismissive phrase he uses for Lucy, just a girl I know from class, just cuts her down instantly from a fellow soulmate forged in crisis to a casual acquaintance.
It confirms the reality, doesn't it? They're now on two completely separate roads, and Gabe has already found a partner who seems to fit the corporate road he's chosen. The passion of 9/11 is, for the moment, completely extinguished.
So let's fast forward 2 years. It's 2003. And the world is, again, falling apart. The U.S. has invaded Iraq.
And right on cue, Lucy and Gabe reconnect. It confirms Gabe's own self-fulfilling prophecy that they only seem to find each other when the world is in chaos.
They meet at this bar, Faces and Names, which is described as having a cozy fireplace and couches. It's the kind of place meant for intimacy, for confession.
And it's Lucy's 23rd birthday.
Yeah.
Gabe is drunk. He's utterly miserable in his consulting job. And predictably, He's broken up with Stephanie again.
He immediately starts using these literary allusions to frame their encounter, which confirms that their shared intellectual bond is still there.
He calls her Pegasus.
Pegasus, the winged horse. And he explicitly tells her she's not a Gorgon, meaning she doesn't turn into stone with her stare.
It's the artist in him, recognizing her light and refusing to let her be something that destroys him, even as he's quoting Robert Frost about the two roads diverged. He is so overtly questioning the choices he's made.
And Lucy's response is incredibly telling. She feels this visceral need to rescue him, to be his salve, your bandage, your antidote.
She calls this impulse her weakness, her Achilles heel, but she also calls it her pomegranate seed.
Okay, let's spend some time on that pomegranate seed reference. Because it is so specific and just rich with meaning, it links their passion directly to myth and pain.
Absolutely. The reference, of course, is to the myth of Persephone. Because Persephone ate the seeds of a pomegranate while she was in the underworld, she was irrevocably bound to return to Hades for a part of every single year.
So by calling Gabe her pomegranate seed,
By calling him that, Lucy is showing that she understands. She gets that this intense, dark, difficult connection is something that will always, always draw her back, even if it brings pain and chaos with it, just like Persephone was forced to return to the darkness.
wow, that's profound. She's essentially recognizing, even back in 2003, that her fate is somehow tied to his pain. And she's willing to descend into that underworld with him because the connection is just that compelling.
And that connection is immediately solidified. Gabe quits consulting, he takes photography classes, their intimacy becomes this shield against the world.
Undressing in restaurant bathrooms, crushing each other against buildings.
It's desperate, it's passionate, and it's fleeting. It defines them as these temporary, secret rebels against the normal world.
And then the secret history comes out. Gabe finally reveals the source of that emotional wall he put up when she asked about his father years earlier.
The story of his father, a volatile sculptor who, frustrated by a lack of commissions, would smash his own work and then violently destroy his wife's canvases.
Forcing her to paint those touristy Arizona sunsets.
This is the trauma that defines Gabe. He spent his entire childhood protecting his mother from this destructive, failed artist. But the story has a pivot point, the kaleidoscope metaphor.
Right. When Gabe was 10, his mother, who was so sad, transformed their house by hanging colored glass from the ceiling, turning the whole room into this shifting, radiant light.
And that is the moment he cemented his life's philosophy. Finding beauty in light, even in the middle of destruction. He saw that art could be transformative even when life itself was shattered.
What's so fascinating here, though, is the dynamic that emerges once they are officially a couple. Lucy admits that when they're out at parties, she feels like she's floating in your wake.
Gabe is the gravitational center. He's holding court, drawing all the attention.
And she only feels special when he's exhausted, drunk and drained, and he chooses her to recharge.
It sounds like she's accepted the role of muse and a restorative resource rather than being an equal partner, doesn't it?
It really does. The relationship itself is defined by these huge cosmic metaphors. Lucy calls them a binary star, just orbiting each other.
But then Gabe introduces the truly dark philosophical concept that will ultimately destroy them. And it's something we have to analyze really closely. He calls it the finite amount of goodness theory.
Right. He starts questioning if their powerful, intoxicating love is his reward for surviving his painful childhood, his reward for living through that.
But the implication of that is just terrifying. If he receives this incredible joy now, he believes he must inevitably suffer for it later. He actually asks her, do we all get a finite amount of goodness in this world?
And this belief that happiness has to be balanced by an equal measure of sacrifice, it's not just deeply cynical, it becomes a complete self-fulfilling prophecy for him.
So we have to ask, does the text validate this belief? Or did Gabe just invent it to justify the destructive ambition he knew would require him to leave Lucy?
Oh, I think he had to believe it. It provided the moral justification for the abandonment that was necessary for him to achieve his dream. He had to believe he had to sacrifice happiness to find fulfillment.
Or maybe to avoid the kind of domestic chaos he witnessed between his own parents. If their love was too perfect, too easy, then it must be the thing that had to go.
It connects directly to his ambition conflict, which crystallizes shortly after. He gets inspired by Lucy's work on her show, It Takes a Galaxy.
Specifically an episode focusing on the power of dreams.
And he realizes his definitive dream, photojournalism abroad. He's haunted by a National Geographic cover, that picture of the girl with piercing green eyes, and he just knows, I have to do this.
And the cost of that ambition hits Lucy like a ton of bricks. When she asks him, what about us? His face just goes blank.
She knows. She knows he means forever, not just a short assignment. He is prioritizing his quest to capture the world's pain over their combined domestic life.
And this whole philosophical conflict, Gabe's need to confront and document external pain versus Lucy's need to process and build internal peace, it all culminates in the ground zero decision.
Gabe needs a picture for his photography class assignment, and the theme is capture pain. He insists they go back to ground zero.
And Lucy flatly refuses. She argues that that day is a part of me. She doesn't need to look at the wreckage to remember the devastation.
They argue furiously over whose method of processing trauma is valid. Gabe sees documentation as a necessary confrontation. Lucy sees internal processing as a necessary form of survival.
And this leads to the most revealing and maybe the most selfish detail about his art. Gabe goes alone. But the final picture he submits for the assignment is not of the ground zero wreckage.
It's of Lucy.
It's of Lucy, washing dishes with tears running down her face, a picture taken when they were arguing about that very tragedy.
Why did Lucy hate that picture so much? I mean, you could argue it's a technically brilliant capture of raw emotion.
I think she hated it because it proved his artistic vision couldn't separate itself from their personal life.
Yeah.
He didn't capture the national pain he claimed he was seeking. He captured her pain. He made her vulnerability his art, and he commodified their intimate argument for a school assignment.
It showed her, undeniably, that she was his muse, but she wasn't his equal partner.
Exactly.
The narrative takes a really sharp turn here, contrasting Lucy's professional triumph with Gabe's ultimate selfish choice. Lucy is at her absolute peak.
Winning a Daytime Emmy for It Takes a Galaxy.
Yeah, she's feeling invincible in her red silk dress.
And that invincibility is just instantly shattered. Gabe chooses that exact moment to drop the ultimate betrayal on her.
He accepted the Associated Press job to embed in Iraq. And he's already said yes. He'd secretly orchestrated the whole thing with his mentor, Pete.
The core of Lucy's anger, though, isn't that he chose the job. It's that he cut her out.
Oh.
We were a team. You cut me out, she insists.
It's the secret keeping, right? The unilateral decision-making. That proves he never truly saw them as a single entity, which just reinforces that idea that she was merely orbiting his star.
And his final justification links back directly to his finite goodness philosophy. He admits, there's something inside me that's broken, and this is the only thing that will fix it.
He is actively choosing professional fulfillment and seeking self-repair through crisis, believing it necessitates sacrificing their passionate relationship.
His final words are the most painful self-assessment. He recognizes he's behaving exactly like his volatile, destructive father, ready to throw away happiness for the sake of his singular, all-consuming ambition.
He concludes, I think you'll be better off without me.
The emotional fallout is just devastating. Lucy needs a total environmental reset. She moves out of their shared Manhattan apartment and into Brooklyn. She needs a new borough, a fresh start.
And there's that small, painful detail that just anchors her grief. She couldn't eat waffles without crying.
Because Gabe's mom had sent them a waffle maker. The most mundane objects become these symbols of their lost domestic bliss.
And this emotional devastation, it paves the way for some new wisdom, which is delivered by her brother, Jason. He offers a critical perspective shift.
Jason uses science and chemistry analogies to talk about love. He tells her that love isn't always a gummy bear explosion, which is Gabe, immediate, overwhelming passion.
Right.
Sometimes he says love is a clock reaction. It's slower, more measured, and it steadily gets better over time. He describes his own steady love for her as elemental, like hydrogen loves oxygen.
That analogy perfectly sets the stage for Darren's entrance. Darren is the elemental love. He's the antithesis of the wildfire. He is easy, relaxed, comfortable, and crucially, patient.
He fulfills the promise he made to Lucy's friend Alexis. He said he would help put you back together. And he does. He waits weeks to even kiss her, which just signifies that his whole approach to love is measured and restorative.
His entire approach to life is planning. He treats life like a chess game, always calculating 6 to 10 steps ahead. And we see this in their shared hobby, creating bucket lists.
Darren's list is detailed and structured. Get married, become a dad, ride a Segway.
Meanwhile, Lucy's list includes her professional aspirations, becoming an executive producer, traveling to Australia. They are planning this beautiful, predictable future together.
But here is the major warning signal about the hearth fire. The core conflict emerges when Darren looks at her list and calls her goal to be an executive producer cute and adorable.
Oof. That is such a crucial moment of professional dismissal. It's a painful contrast to Gabe, who, for all his failings, saw and supported the professional dream behind Dialy.
It takes a galaxy.
Right. Darren loves Lucy, but he doesn't truly respect her ambition. And Lucy is justifiably wounded. And while Darren tries to backtrack by claiming everything about her is adorable, her shoes, her hairbrush, Lucy sees the fundamental disconnect.
She says, I need you to love me because of that, not in spite of it.
She needs a partner who recognizes the gravity of her work, not just the charm of her personality.
But the stability is what ultimately wins out. And it's perfectly encapsulated by that metaphor from Kate's sister Liz.
The wildfire and the hearthfire?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Gabe and Lucy was the wildfire, powerful, dangerous, all-consuming. Darren and Lucy is the hearthfire, solid, stable, cozy, and nourishing. It's the fire you build your home around.
And on her wedding day, Lucy makes that choice definitive. Gabe calls her right after breaking up with his latest partner, Raina.
And Lucy's mother's advice just seals the deal. Choose the better partner, the better father.
And Lucy looks at Darren and she realizes Gabe's life was the Gabe show, where she would perpetually be a supporting actress. Darren is solid, they built a beautiful future, and she chooses that sustainable flame.
So the narrative now transitions into this deep dive into domesticity, showing the results of Lucy's choice. She has achieved professional success. She's a producer on multiple shows, continuing to follow her post-9/11 mandate by tackling difficult issues, like physical violence on kids' TV.
She is keeping that promise to herself, but the stability, it comes with a hidden cost, and it's often economic. Darren's career has skyrocketed. He's earning 5 times her salary now.
And he subtly pressures her to stay home after their daughter, Violet, is born, using that classic line, "No one will take care of her the way you will."
Lucy's decision to return to work is rooted in her deepest self-knowledge. She needs to honor that 9/11 commitment those who can do. But, maybe more practically, she knows that staying home would foster this deep well of resentment that would destroy the hearthfire from the inside out.
And the source material offers that perfectly grounding, memorable detail about their domestic partnership, the fecal incident levels.
Right. This is where we see the true practical value of the hearthfire.
Level 6, which requires a bath and a change of clothes for Lucy herself, is the breaking point. Yet Darren, the planner, the pragmatic man, he drops his briefcase, takes the poop machine, as he calls it, and lets her go shower.
It proves he's a fully reliable partner in the practical trenches of life, even if he doesn't get her need to be an executive producer. He handles the physical chaos, allowing her to maintain her sanity.
But despite this stability, Gabe continues to intersect with her life. It proves that the pomegranate seed will always draw her back.
The first return is that Starbucks meeting in 2009. Gabe is briefly back in New York, and he's described as wistful and depressed. The harsh reality of photojournalism has clearly taken its toll.
He admits his pursuit has been really hard, and that shatters the initial romantic notion that this difficult path would somehow fix the broken part of him.
And his confession to Lucy is just devastating. It proves she was his true center. He says, "Whenever I'm afraid, I dream about you. Whenever I'm sad, I wish I hadn't left."
That admission confirms the real cost of his choice. He sacrificed their shared future based on a philosophical premise that finite goodness that he now realizes was wrong, or at least completely self-destructive.
Years later, in 2011, the theme of being seen resurfaces at his photo retrospective, which is called Light. Lucy visits, and she's confronted by a massive gallery wall devoted entirely to her.
This wall is the ultimate articulation of her role as his muse. It culminates in a picture of her asleep, clutching a script, clearly exhausted.
And the caption reads, "A woman filled with light makes everything she touches brighter. Lucy, Liz, light."
This is a devastating emotional collision with her reality. Because while Darren loves her and calls her adorable and handles the logistical chaos of their life, Gabe saw her. He truly saw the light and the ambition that defined her.
The realization that she was still his artistic North Star, even while married to another man, is the emotional bomb that threatens to destroy the stability she's built.
And that emotional deficiency, it drives her behavior during the cheating scare in 2014. Lucy suspects Darren is cheating because of a contact labeled Linda on his phone.
And the threat to her heartfire immediately sends her running back to the wildfire.
She meets Gabe at Faces and Names, the very same bar of their chaotic reconnection years earlier. She confesses her suspicion. The passionate afternoon in the hotel room that follows is Lucy finally reclaiming the passion she had sacrificed for security.
And when Gabe, sensing that the binary star alignment is back, asks her to join him in Jerusalem, her response just encapsulates her entire current life.
She says, if it were just me, I'd be there in a heartbeat.
The irony here is so rich. She seeks the destruction of her stable life because she fears Darren has destroyed it first, but she finds she's unable to sacrifice the family unit she's built.
And the ultimate truth, the cruel twist of timing, arrives immediately after, making their secret reunion even more consequential.
Gabe calls from Gaza. He's distraught by the intensity of the conflict, and he finally admits his error. He was wrong to leave her. He should have stayed in New York. He says he's coming home for good.
For Lucy, this is the ultimate test of her choice. The wildfire is returning, ready to burn steadily this time, but she has to protect the hearth fire she spent years building. She breaks his heart to save her family.
And the mechanism she uses to push him away is the reveal about Linda.
Linda was the real estate agent for their new house, which, in a painful twist of fate, was in the same building where Lucy and Gabe first lived together.
She had chosen stability, but she subconsciously recreated the physical setting of their wildfire passion.
She insists she won't break up her family, forcing Gabe to accept the irreversible nature of the choices they've both made. He says he has to come back anyway, for himself, and he promises not to expect anything from her.
And his final whispered words just solidify their lifelong bond. He says, "I love you, Lucy."
The story ends tragically, proving that Gabe's decision to pursue crisis, even if he regretted it, carried permanent consequences. The devastating news arrives. Gabe is brain dead after an explosion in Gaza.
And in the immediate aftermath, Lucy's confronted by the ultimate secret of their hotel reunion. She's pregnant, and the baby could be Gabe's. The potential consequence of the wildfire has taken root in her stable life.
She travels to Jerusalem, where she is forced to be the one to sign the Do Not Resuscitate order. This final, solitary act confirms her role as the keeper of our memories. She's the only one left who truly understood the intensity of their history.
She finds his last will and testament, which confirms his love and his dedication to sharing stories across borders. The source material grants him his legacy. He died committed to his artistic mission, even if that mission cost him everything else.
The story concludes with Lucy's powerful final reflection, written to her unborn son. It could be Liam, or it could be Gabe's child. She tells the child he was conceived in love and that his father made her feel invincible and infinite.
And this letter finally resolves the core philosophical conflict that began the entire book: destiny or decision.
Lucy acknowledges that their powerful connection often felt like fate, but the choices they made, to leave, to stay, to return, to deny, were ultimately what defined their reality.
She states the ultimate truth. It was my choice. It's been my choice all along, and his. We chose each other. This provides the final, liberating insight. We aren't just victims of fate. We are the agents of our own narratives.
So what this narrative provides is a masterclass in archetypal relationships. We have the wildfire Gabe. That's pure passion, risk, euphoria, and the constant feeling of being seen as a muse. It offers immense personal growth, but it is inherently unstable.
And then we have the hearthfire Darren. Stability, consistency, security. The essential comfort of being adored and provided for, even if that means sometimes being misunderstood or having your ambitions sidelined.
The key takeaway here for you, the learner, is that Lucy's choice was not between a good love and a bad love. Both of these fires offered unique knowledge and unique joys. But the narrative asserts that only the hearthfire was truly sustainable, given the self-destructive nature of Gabe's ambition and his core belief that happiness required subsequent sacrifice.
Lucy chose to sacrifice that intoxicating wildness to protect the family she built. She ultimately accepted that fulfillment doesn't have to be explosive. It can be elemental, steady, and shared.
And yet, we're left with Gabe's central, haunting philosophical question. Did he have a finite amount of goodness? Was his ultimate tragedy a validation of his own theory? Or was his fate simply the result of prioritizing the external validation of his ambition over the internal commitment of his love?
The ending suggests a profound shift in perspective, I think. Perhaps the concept of finite goodness isn't some universal rule, but rather a psychological shield Gabe invented to justify the self-sabotage that was necessary for his art.
And Lucy's final decision, embracing her choices, suggests that the true abundance lies not in the fantasy of having it all, but in accepting the richness of the life you actively choose to build.